dates, a lot of second and third dates. Then I started doing that. I started actually sleeping with girls on the first date a lot. And then at a certain point, I started escalating too much on the date. And it actually started turning girls off. I was sleeping with fewer girls, and I was starting to really, really not get any second and third dates. And I realized that I was kind of pushing it too far. It's kind of a funny thing. It's like a lot of guys, maybe they'll get into, like say, a martial art. They'll get into it to learn to fight. And then they find once they learn it, they don't have to fight anymore because people can just sense they're not to be messed with. I kind of got that way with escalation, where I got so good at escalating and so comfortable with escalating that like the girl could tell that I was the type of guy that would escalate. And so all the sexual tension from escalation was already built, even if I sat across the table from her and even if I barely ever touched her. And so I could do the same things with just eye contact and vibe that I could do physically. So I got to the point where I actually stopped escalating as much until I get the girl back to my place. But I definitely do make sure there's sexual tension, make sure that it's clearly man to woman, make sure that I'm flirting. I'll never let it get boring. But I don't get nearly as physical as I used to. However, if you're at all uncomfortable with physicality, you need to get through that hurdle. So it's kind of transition, right? If you're not physical enough, you need to get more physical. If you're getting really physical and you're really comfortable, keep doing it until your results start getting worse. But if at any point they start getting worse, then drop it a bit and use other channels of communication, right? As long as the girl knows you're there as a sexual person, she's hanging out with you, that's pretty much achieving the purpose of physicality. So you don't need to be super, super, super physical. Next thing you need to know on a date. A date means that you and she agreed that you like each other, okay? Now what that means is kind of beautiful. It means that she has just as much invested as you do. Okay? In fact, if anything, maybe she has more. Because as much as you don't want to have a bad date, because it's kind of annoying, it's a waste of your time, she really doesn't want to have a bad date. Because she probably told all her friends about it, they're going to ask her about it. Or if she's like single-ish or single and has a bad date, she's like, oh my God, am I undateable? Am I unworthy? Am I ever going to find love? So this is a big deal for her. And so as much as you don't want to have a bad date, multiply it by 5 or 10, and that's how much she doesn't want to have a bad date. And so the beauty of that is that if the date isn't going the greatest, if it's not super entertaining or like super high energy and woo-woo amazing, she's going to do a lot of the work for you. So I actually have a particular strategy for dates. Instead of trying to go in and like make an amazing first impression and like knock her socks off right at the start, I actually want to go super, super, super chill. And this is related to kind of how women experience emotions. Women don't necessarily experience their subjective experience of emotions isn't necessarily how much that emotional chemical is in their body. It's what the change in that chemical is. So if things start out really, really good and they start to get worse, even if they're still really good, the girl will feel it as a negative. She'll feel as though this date is going badly now, and she'll be uncomfortable and she won't like it. On the other hand, if the date starts out a little bit like lame or even awkward, and then it gets gradually better, she's going to feel as though you're getting to know each other and the vibe is building and you're growing chemistry, and she notices that the change is positive. She notices the longer she's around you, the better she feels. And so what I do on dates, rather than try and like be amazing at the start of the date, I just show up. And I don't do anything weird or creepy or uncool, and I'm not like silent and like non-participatory, but I don't do a lot to continue driving the conversation forward. And I don't do a lot to entertain her at all. And what I actually want to have happen is she gets to the point where she's like, oh shit, this is a little awkward. And so she goes, so where are you from? So what do you do? And now she's essentially gaming me, right? The date has flipped and she's taken on the role of the guy who's getting to know the girl, as opposed to I'm now in the role of the girl who's being courted and being asked all these questions. The other